Hello, this is Survient coming in here on sude.su. I'm doing another review here. As you can see in the video, I'm in Neverwinter right now. I just figured I'd do a follow-up video of our audio commentary with a little discussion I had with me, Party Boy, and Argotti. It's been a few weeks. A few things have changed. As you can see, now I am level 60. I've reached endgame content. A couple of patches have been released in between, but honestly, nothing significant has transpired since. We're still waiting on Ranger. A few tweaks here and there. The game's still obviously beta. So how's it been for me since then? I've been enjoying it. I think the game's progressing nicely. I think the devs are fixing a lot of the critical issues so far. There's still a few errant problems I've seen that I'd like to see resolved, but they're working on it. Now to take you through real quick, for those who are unfamiliar, right now I am in an area known as Protector's Enclave, which is pretty much the hometown area. As you can see, there's a lot of people running around. Make note here though, this is not the default view. I've tweaked the UI just a little bit. Normally you don't see all the health bars and things like that, but I like detail. So I opted to turn on a couple extra options. The town's not that big. As I'm pulling up the map here, you can see it's okay as far as the detail goes. I've seen games do some better layout. One nice feature about other MMOs I enjoy is the transparent map overlay. Unfortunately, Neverwinter doesn't have this available. I'm hoping they add it later, but if not, honestly, it's not the end of the world. What I was planning on doing tonight was actually going to do a kind of run-through of one of the queue instances. Now, the way this works, in Neverwinter, it's instant. I think it's you'd call it like a hybrid of instance-based play as well as dungeon delving. It's a little bit of both. Mostly the main focal point is dungeon delving, but they do have a few open areas where you run around, do quests, and like Argotti was stating, kill boar, collect X object. So you do have that a little bit, but the dungeons are really where this game shines. And, I think one divergence they've taken from DDO that I think is beneficial is one of the problems with DDO, you had to do all the work. You had to go create a party, go hunt down, do your own group, get members, post in the chat, basically be fairly social, ironically, in the game to get anywhere. In this game, they kind of make it easy. They have a queue system like some other games do for PvP and certain mini dungeon if they're more focused on being an open area type MMO. So in this one here, I'll show it to you. You can pop up here. This is the main screen. I like how they did this. You can get access to a lot of things. You have your guild section over here you can get to. You have different quests you can queue for. There's a queue section over here, which I'll show in a second. The calendar, which shows events going on in the game. Also, you got your nice little shorthand event. There's two kinds. There's the weekend events where you have bonuses and things like that. But there's also daily, hourly, interval events for different things. You have professions, as you can see. You get bonus items, skirmishes, which is kind of like a mini dungeon, really. You get extra astral diamonds if you do it within that time frame. One for PvP, one for full dungeon delves, and as you can see, it kind of rotates based on a schedule. You also can get your daily quests here to get astral diamonds and quick access to the cash shop. Also, you'll note there's the foundry as well. That's shown up here under catalog. I'll probably cover that in an upcoming video. I'm not planning on doing these videos that often, just as I see major changes or just have a break in between reviews and things like that. So let's go ahead and head over here to the queue page. It takes a minute to load up. Normally, when you're lower level, you're not going to see this many options. You just have PvP, usually a skirmish. Like down here, you'll see these. You'll see a skirmish, a dungeon, and then sometimes there's more than one dungeon depending on your level bracket. But as you can see here, you've got a lot of options for epic type dungeons. The one I'm actually going to do today, because I'm trying to hunt for a particular item that drops, you'll note here you have the normal instance of the dungeon, the Dread Vault, and then an epic level. Epic level, the rewards are greater, but the difficulty's higher. Veteran MMOs will be more familiar with it. In terms of my experience, I wouldn't consider myself a veteran MMO player, but I've played enough to be somewhat familiar with the general gist of what they try and do in MMOs. Anyway, so the instance I'm going to go for in part of my daily is to do this one here, the normal one, not the epic one. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up for that. Now, I'm going to be honest. This takes a while, especially at this time. You can see I'm in Central, 9:32 p.m. It can take a while to queue for certain items. Your best bet, like let's say you're trying to do your daily for skirmishes, you want to wait till this comes up and you get credit for your skirmishes. So basically, yeah, you can balance out your schedule based on what you got to do. One things I do like that they've done is made it more friendly to casual players to a degree. The way they've done that is in a couple areas, which I'll cover later. The one main point out of that I wanted to get is this little icon right up here. This ties to the religion element of D&D, and in Neverwinter, the factor on this applies to getting bonuses, things like that. You can see as a little timer there, 21 minutes, and if I hover over this one, you'll see a different one. It says invoke again within 1 day, 5 hours. The way this works, it has two forms of currency you can gain. You have the long-term Ardent coins and the short-term Celestial coins. Basically, the way religion works is you find a little spot where you can pray, and it's only in certain areas that you can do it. Campfires are a good example. There's a main in Protector's Enclave. There's a main prayer area you can go, or there's an item you can drop, which looks like in game once you've placed it, it looks like this little altar thing here. But if you actually check your inventory, it looks like these little guys right here, the portable altars. Once you put them down, all you got to do is go into the mouse cursor view. You hit Alt to get in there, and you just click this little button up here. As you can see, I did this about 40 minutes ago. I have another 20 minutes before I can do it. You can do it once per hour. Now, each time you do it per day, you get those Celestial coins. Those are temporary. You also get an Ardent coin as well on a daily basis. It's roughly 24 hours. They have a slight different timer, but on average it's 24 hours. And each time you do it, you get the long-term Ardent coin, but you also get the short-term Celestial coins. Now, here's the difference. Ardent coins last indefinitely. You'll always have them. However, Celestial coins, if you don't invoke the religion buff once every 24 hours, after that 24-hour period expires, you'll lose all your coins. So it's meant to be kind of a weight incentive to get players to be consistent in playing the game. However, it still offers the Ardent coins as an alternate form of currency for players that are intermittent and they don't, they might have some odd schedules, things like that. The bonuses for the temporary coins are somewhat minor, so you're not getting significantly penalized if you're out of game. Luckily, I have 7 here, so I can show you. You have, as you go, you can just do it the one time, and obviously party poppers are not very good, but if you can go up to like 3 days of doing this repetitively, you can get up to 3 coins here for an Elixir of Fate, which is fairly good buff. This is probably the best one here if you're crafting, is the resource pack. And then this thing has wards, specifically, I don't know if I have one in my inventory, I don't, but we can try and get one. Basically, there's 2 kinds of wards for crafting. All wards do is try and prevent a item from breaking when you upgrade it. and they have one that acts as a it protects your materials from getting destroyed, but that's about it. And then that's the minor version. They have a greater version that is guaranteed to craft the item, which is kind of useful. I'm not gonna lie. Perfect World is a corporation. See, right here, I got one of the lower tier wards. It's just called a Preservation Ward. I think the other one is a Coalescent Ward that guarantees crafting. You generally use the Coalescent Wards for high level crafting, where the chance of failure is much higher. Low level crafting, you're not gonna get much. And I use those terms. I should say I misuse those terms. Crafting actually doesn't really have a chance of failure. This is the profession menu, aka crafting. You go in and you can send out different resources, or actually they call them assets. Basically, assets are your task force, I guess what you'd call them, your little NPC group here. If you've ever played browser-based games that involve timers, you basically task up your resources, click a bunch of buttons, and queue up a bunch of processes to go off. There's a couple battleship games out there, and in Ubisoft's side, Heroes Kingdoms has that same idea, if you've played those. If not, it's not a hard concept to understand. Basically, I go to my overview here. I've got all these open slots. You get more slots as you level up your crafting. You can go in, choose task. Basically, as long as you have the available assets to task, you can have them do anything you have to meet the prereqs for. Most of them just have a basic prereq of having an available asset, like you'll see here. Explore local area, protect caravan. Both of these just require one guy. Some of them require special material, like local map here. I don't want to bore you too much with this, so I'll just give you a basic example. We'll just go ahead and do a quick chart region here. It's requiring these, actually the consumed resource here. I can go in, click a guy. If I want it to go faster, I can also assign additional assets to go with him to speed up the time. You can see here, by default, it's going to be 2 hours. If I click on another guy, it reduces it. As you level up your assets, they will go ahead and reduce the time further. You get more bonuses. You'll see there, one of my guys that's at work is this guy. He has a 10% speed bonus, so that's where the optional asset comes in. So just click on Start Task. It goes in, it queues. It's 1 hour later. I come back. You can also force them to finish faster with Astral Diamond, but it depends on your style. If you're pay to play on this game, you might click this more often just because you want to trade time for money, but in general I would advise against it. As long as you're patient, it'll go through and complete in its own time. That's pretty much it. You just have this going on here where you can queue your minions. As you level up, you'll get better items, like you'll see here. Granted, I'm level 60, and I did crafting later on in the game, like most players will, and I can only craft up to like a level 23 item, but considering it's a rare tier item, blue, just below a rare tier item of purple, so you can see there's going to be some benefits to crafting to a degree. It depends on your playstyle. I think the very active players, like I was initially, basically you have, active players like I was when I first started, who want to go in and run around, do dungeons, do quests, maybe do some PvP, things like that. You'll probably wait to do crafting till the end, and if that's your choice, that's fine. Other times you have passive players. They only log in every now and then, and they're more browser-based type people, and that's where Neverwinter kind of has an advantage, and I'll go more into that in a second here. But for passive players, one of the big bonuses is that religion option as a feature. Basically, you can go and do that once a day. Basically, a lot of my friends, they don't have time. They just can log in for a few minutes, at a night. They might have some time on the weekend where they can really sit down and do some dedicated play, and we'll join up. But they want to do something on the side in between, and that's where the religion comes in. You just log in for 5 minutes, click on the button. It'll actually give you Astral Diamond as well as experience and a couple other goodies as well. Plus, you're getting those coins as a religion currency. This game has a lot of different currencies, and in some games that have that, it doesn't work too well. I think in Neverwinter it works okay. I wouldn't say it's the best thing ever, but it's unique and it has advantages. And I think if you play to those advantages, you get much more enjoyment out of it. Another asset to, and this is what I was going to get into, to the casual players, is there's this section of the game known as the gateway. Now, to explain the gateway is basically a web-based interface to the game for minor things like crafting, the auction house, mail, and guild management. It sounds kind of simple, but honestly, I've been playing MMOs for a while. Like I said, I wouldn't consider myself a veteran MMO player, but I do. I've played a wide variety, and I've gotten ideas on things I want to see improved, and also just different ways I want them implemented. And one thing I've been wanting for a long time is a web portal of some kind for the mundane sections of the game, like crafting, auction house, things like that. I mean, you look at it from, if any of you have been around eBay before, you get on there, you bid around. I like the feel of it. You get in, you get your item, you do your thing, and I like doing that from a web-based setup. Once I'm in game, all I want to do is play. I don't really want to craft or do anything like that. I might do some basic checkups, but that's about it. But like, let's say I'm at work or I'm on my phone and I want to do some stuff with the game, but obviously I don't have my computer in front of me and I'm not going to lug around a gaming laptop all the time. I have the web-based portal to do the mundane things, so you can mix it up. The site that they have for the Neverwinter Gateway is very mobile friendly, which I was kind of afraid of. I found it on my desktop, and then I was like, well, this is cool. Can I use it on my phone though? And honestly, it resizes well. I've tried it on a couple devices, both iOS as well as Android, and it's working pretty good, and I'm impressed. I'm really surprised that Perfect World was able to pull it off. Now, a few of you might be saying, well, World of Warcraft has it as well. Now, for me, the fact that I'm impressed comes from outside of the World of Warcraft circle. A lot of MMOs have tried to compete with it and run different features. Honestly, outside of World of Warcraft, Perfect World is the only one I've seen implement the web-based portal like that. If there's others out there, great. I've played most of the more popular mainstream MMOs. I haven't seen any of those do any kind of web-based auction house, let alone a full portal for crafting and everything else. So yeah, basically the fact that you can do things from a web browser on your phone and from your desktop, it doesn't make it a great MMO, but it makes it an interesting one. And again, I think it adds a unique element to the gameplay that the kind of combats one of the biggest problems MMOs fight against, and that's longevity. It adds to that. You have more ways to play the game, and I think that's very beneficial. So yeah, like I said, you have the web-based portal. You can craft on it. You can do auction house. So I'm not saying you mess around at work all day on the gateway, but you get time in between. You might have a break during lunch, or you just have a downtime period where you want to kill some time, and rather than sitting there reading news articles or posting on Reddit, you can go in and do some stuff in game. That way you're not doing it when you get home. You have more time to do the core parts of the game. So yeah, like I said, I think the gateway is a unique element to this game, and the crafting, I like crafting in some other games. It's more detailed. As far as an engine goes, you have more materials, you have to mine, do things like that. But because of the way Neverwinter is as an instance, as an instance-focused MMO, I wouldn't say dedicated, but an instance-focused one, I think they had to simplify the crafting a bit to kind of counterbalance gameplay. Because if you're running around, dungeons have in mind. Now, don't get me wrong, you still have these little skill things, and I'll show you if we get in a dungeon here what it'll look like. You have these little materials you'll get. Basically, each class has a class kind of gathering skill, so to speak. It's not really gathering, it's just kind of a little functional thing. For me, it'll show up under here. I've got dungeoneering. It's basically a little passive skill that you get for looting certain types of little, I guess you call them altars, that you walk up to it. It'll basically be an interactable type deal where you can just go up. Like, see how I can talk to this guy by hitting F. It's the same deal with the item. I'd walk up to, it wouldn't be a barrel, but like a stone or something, and then say it requires dungeoneering. I hit F and bam, I've looted it. You get some runes, some enchantments, as well as some raw materials for crafting. But the raw materials in this game are a lot less significant than they are in other games because they use the asset system where you have these skilled artisans to do your work for you. Now, there aren't any prereqs to any of these, nor do any classes get any particular bonuses for one crafting type to another, so you're free to do whatever you want as far as customization goes. I know some other MMOs follow suit with that, but not all of them do. So, it's interesting. I generally would recommend focusing on one over the other, and generally do the one that makes items related to your class. Like the Guardian Fighter would want to go for platesmithing. It creates shields as well as heavy armor. Me, I'm under mail smithing because I get scale armor as well as chain armor. Chain armor being for clerics. So you have options. You can do what you want there. I like how the system is kind of simplified because this UI is more. It's hard to describe. There's a proper term for it, but basically, the third-person mouse look type perspective is more friendly towards this type of crafting system versus something where you have to click and drag for hours on end. This one, it's a lot less dragging, more just clicking a couple buttons. And the interesting part is it does make it more friendly for a web UI, and I think that's what they had in mind was, hey, let's make it so they can go into a web-based portal. So you've got that. Like I said, it depends on your playstyle where you focus. Is crafting worth it? I would honestly think so, but it depends on the individual. If you're more of a crafting type guy, then go for it. I know some people would love this just from the standpoint of a tradesman. There's a lot of friends of mine that I know that are more oriented on the economics aspect. If they could, they would open up their own shop in game, and they'd go, and all they'd be is a blacksmith, and they'd craft items, and they might go on adventures with other people. There's a few games that have played on this. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Resetir. It's more of a it's a indie game with a Japanese theme to it, where you open up an item shop and it's got all the generic anime, MMO, little innuendo and references in it. And this is more raw, Americanized D&D. But, they've been wanting things like that. And I think while this isn't quite there, it's definitely in the right direction. If you want to focus on doing crafting, you can. If you look at leadership, ironically, some crafting systems do give you experience, but it's usually fairly limited. Leadership does grant on some of these a reasonable amount of experience considering what you're doing. So if you want to take it slow and you like crafting, and while it's not as complicated as other ones, and you're just looking for something you can do on the side, you can just go in here and craft and do the daily religion type deal each day and get leveled up just fine that way if you're really going in for the casual side, and the occasional option to go into a more action focused scenario. Might maybe try out a foundry quest every now and then. So like I said, those options are there. I think this game does a good job of giving those to players and empowering them to play in the way they want to a degree. Like I said, it's got a ways to go. I think it did a good way of balancing everything, but it's not quite specializing one area or another, aside from the whole action system, although I think it's debatable whether Terra or Neverwinter does the combat system better, depending on what you look for. I like a lot that Terra has to offer in terms of the combat system, and for Neverwinter, where the main focus is the combat system, it's got a ways to go. But yeah, so like I said, you've got crafting, you've got auction house. Actually, I should probably show you and take a look at that. If we pop up here, you got your mail system. You can do a guild compose if you're part of a guild. The guild options are fairly standard. You can go in, do your roster. You've got all of your chat and ranks that you can set. If I remember right from a few other MMOs I've played where I've done guild-oriented play, there's a couple of missing options on here that some other MMOs offer, but yeah, it's fine. It gets the job done, and I don't think there's anything critical missing. Anyway, getting back in, going to the auction house. The auction house is a mixed bag right now. One of the interesting aspects of it is they have two avenues. They can do a basic, like some people have a hard time navigating the auction house. Believe it or not, I've met these people, and they just want a way to navigate the maze. And Neverwinter offers an interesting perspective of recommending items for people to buy. It's not always that accurate. You might have better items that it can't really work with, and once you get into epic tier stuff, it gets a little bit less accurate. Most of these, I've got better equipment than what it's telling me to do, but in the earlier levels up to about, the high 50s, it's pretty spot on for recommending just general items. Now, if you want to do more detail, you can go in. It's your standard auction house. You got the stuff you're selling, you got your stuff you're bidding on, you've got the main search type deal, you got your items you can purchase. They offer buyouts as well as bidding, so pretty standard. And it looks like I just got an email, maybe. Nope, never mind. Sometimes it might have been my friend logging off there. You'll hear notification icons. But anyway, getting back to the auction house, it's pretty standard. You get all your options there. The big thing, and they're working on this. This is a work in progress for them. They're implementing a couple additional features to it, and the fact that it ties into their web-based UI means they have to tweak things a little bit differently. As you can see, some of this is off. You got negative 31 days. If I go in and I do a search, let's say I hit on head, right, and this is showing me stuff all the way from, let me find something there, level 30 to level 60, right? So let's say I go in and I'm like, well, I want to do only level 60 items, and I click on search. Lo and behold, I still am getting level 44 equipment. The devs are aware of it. They are working on it. Like I said, there's a couple of areas they have to get into from the dev side, and they're only able to address certain issues at certain times. Honestly, the auction house is still navigatable. It's still functional. You have to be aware of certain things like the negative times. You can't bid on those, obviously, but that's more of a common sense type perspective. So I think that's why the devs are prioritizing in other areas before they get on that. Let's say I want to do this type of helm here, and I just want to do a price comparison. Avatar of Wars, whatever. I just type in on here, Avatar of War. Bam. So in those instances, you can narrow it down to a degree just through search queries. I would like to see them fix the level search filter, but for the most part, it's functional. People still use it. It's still doing its thing. I think I've always loved the auction house as a concept, and the fact that you can access this through a web portal is even more, I'd say awesome. But again, it's not making this game, it's not what makes this game. It's just value add. But I think it's significant value add for what you get. I mean, that's the thing about MMOs. It's a time investment. It's not like a single-player game. You do invest your time and money into a single-player game, but An MMO, it's social. You interact with other people. It's got its own world, its own economy. And in the free-to-play cash shop model, sometimes you can, over time, you can invest quite a bit into the game, and you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth. That it's gonna be around, like I said in the previous review, that it's gonna be around, things like that. That it's not just gonna go to hell in a handbasket. And like I said, while Neverwinter's not perfect, for standard MMO fare, I think it's well above average. I enjoy it. I have fun with it. I highly suggest giving it a try if you haven't given it a run through. I wouldn't go in and drop on anything in the cash side initially, unless you've got expendable and where you don't mind dropping 5 or 10 for testing out a game. The cash shop will give you some bonuses, but I think that the prices that they're at keep it from being a pay-to-win model. A lot of people have been kind of going back and forth on that side of the argument, whether this is pay-to-win or if it's just a game where you can buy certain things. I think it falls on the latter of that side because basically, like I said, you if you want to, you can go, there's certain things you can buy, you can craft items. It takes a little bit of work and time in addition to the money to really deck out and get the gear. So if you want to drop and spend, all your money pouring into the game, from a pay-to-win model, yeah, you can do that. But most players don't have that type of expendable income. And they're looking for ways to improve the gameplay but not break the gameplay. And I think Neverwinter, from a cost standpoint, balances that. Some people have complained the stuff in the cash shop is a little bit pricey, and that's true, but I think that's for good reason. It causes players to stop, think, and be like, look, do I really want to burn the money on this, or do I want to spend time on it? You need to spend time or money to get to your goal in this game. Pretty much everything in the cash shop is available through Astral Diamonds. You can go into the auction house, find it, and get it that way. It takes some time to get some of those items through Astral Diamonds, but your biggest, everybody asks, like, what's the fastest way to make Astral Diamond? Aside from doing dailies and quest, your crafting, because certain crafting will get you Astral Diamonds, honestly, I would say it's through the auction house. Do your dungeon runs, do your little thing, grab some rare items that you pick up and sell them. Do your research, find out what they're selling for. If you do that, over time, you will make enough Astral Diamonds to get what you want in the game. So, from a free-to-play perspective, you can get what you want without having to drop on the game. Would I recommend dropping some funds on it? Yeah. I think that it's a worthy endeavor to spend a little bit, maybe for a mount or the occasional ward or things like that to speed things up. But I wouldn't go and make your entire game pay to play because you're going to go broke very quick. And again, like I said, I think that's intentional, and while not everybody may not agree with it, from my perspective, I think it's a good thing. It keeps people from doing their thing. Now, to put in perspective here, we've been here for a little while chatting. I'm still waiting on queue, unfortunately. It's about 10. It's been about a half hour here. Like I said, late night. We're talking it's 11 Eastern, which is where, I wouldn't say a majority, but a good chunk of the player base is. A lot of them on a weeknight like this are getting ready for bed. They want to do their thing, so it takes a little bit longer to get a group. Also, it is a dungeon instance. Skirmishes usually get a group pretty quick because it's a short dungeon run, and on a weeknight, that's what people are looking for. They want to do something quick and easy, but at the same time get loot and things like that out of the dungeon run. So while we're waiting, let me go ahead. My little thing for religion has popped up. I'll go ahead and show you that real quick. As you can see, I got the mount here. I can run around and do things. They have 3 tiers of mounts you can get, which is pretty standard for MMO fare. And the difference, though, is the tiers are not restricted by level. As soon as you get to level 20, you can ride any mount you want. So there is that as an advantage, I think. But the benefits are minor. But anyway, like I said, we've got ourselves the religion thing here. You always get a buff. This you will always get. It's randomized. You get 2 stat bonuses. and it can vary depending on the level. Oftentimes you'll get astral diamonds. Now I'm level 60, so I didn't get anything, but it'll also show experience as well. And sometimes you'll get crafting gear like runes or enchantments. I'll probably cover runes and enchantments in a later video that gets a little bit more detailed into, I wouldn't call it the crafting system, but the weapon augmentation system, if you will. But yeah, you get your little astral diamonds, you get your XP, you get your little buff there. So you log in, you do that, you go do a foundry quest or a skirmish or something real quick, log out, rinse, repeat, and you know, you get leveled up. I wouldn't say immensely quickly doing it that way, but over time, you'll get up there. I think this game's more oriented for, and as far as leveling goes, to the casual players, because you level up pretty quickly if you dedicate a lot of time to the game. So I think they made that intentional for casual players to not have to spend that much time doing the little passive XP grinds to get leveled up. And you do it and you have fun doing it, at least I do. I like some of the passive elements. It's not my mainstay way to get XP, but it's there. So yeah, like I said, I got my little thing, the timer resets, I got 59. You'll notice I didn't get any celestial coins. Like I said, that's a 24-hour increment, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, while we're waiting, I'll take you in. This has been a pretty boring video up until now, so let me show you some action. I'll make a note in the video to skip ahead to the timer on this, so that way you're not having to sit around. I'll do a quick foundry quest while we're waiting. Go over here to the catalog. I'll show you one of my favorites here. It's a nice little quickie quest that is good for your daily foundry. You can go in here. Now, quick note for the foundry quests. In order to proceed towards your Astral Diamond daily quest, it has to have that little tagline there. This quest is also eligible for blah. Most of the featured ones have that tagline, but most of the ones under new, well, maybe not. Maybe under 4 review, I'll find one. Yeah, so you can see here. This one has gotten 1 review. These are ones that not a lot of people have played, so it'll cycle through. You go over in here, and you'll see, hey, I've got that as an option there. So to resolve that, I just got to go over here to quote best. These are reviewed and get the most playback. But like I said, one of the first ones I played and one of my favorites is Bill's Tavern. I enjoy it. I'm not putting my official endorsement on that because everybody's going to enjoy different things. Although I think I lost Bill's Tavern because I can't find it anymore. Or maybe I'm blind as a bat. They do have search, so you can find it again if you need to, and I might just do that. I'm not seeing nothing here, so we're just gonna do this. Bill search. Oh, that's because I'm under new. Alright, my bad. Okay, let's go down here, and Bill's Tavern. This is a very campy one, as you can see from the description. It's supposed to be kind of a joke quest, but it takes itself somewhat seriously. The difficulty is not that high. I think for some of the weaker armor classes like Rogue and Control Wizard, if you're not that coordinated in your gameplay style, you might have a little bit of difficulty getting through the quest. So make sure when you go through, you have your companion. I'll cover the companions at a later time. Alright, there we go. You have to... standard MMO fare, you gotta mark your active quest there, but... Anyway, quest trailing looks like this, all sparkles. You basically just make it active, follow a little trail. Like I said, standard MMO fare, at least these days. If you've been into the MMO loop for a while, they've got pretty good tutorials on covering the new concepts. But anyway, I'm not going to bore the veteran MMO players with those details. I'll just get to the point here. So the way it works, you have a marker either on the world map or on an object within Protector's Enclave that acts as kind of the teleporter to the map instance where you actually do the dungeon. In this case, it's a single map quest. It's pretty simple. You go in, you're started. If for some reason you need to leave, I haven't bumped into one that hasn't had this, but I don't want to confidently say every single quest has one, but most of these have what's known as an abort exit, so you can leave if you want. It'll give you a warning, and you can customize the error message like this guy did, where it basically says, hey, if you leave, you're not going to get credit, and the dungeon's going to reset. So it's there if you need to exit. If you're in a queue, you'll still be in the queue, so you can respond to that at any time. Hopefully it'll pop here eventually while I'm doing this little mini quest. But anyway, this is example of Foundry. This guy he can customize anything in here for the most part in regards to objects, like these little mugs here you can move around. At least I should rephrase that. Not everything's customizable, but most of it is within a reasonable degree. It ranges from easy to somewhat difficult to set up, so you can tweak things as you want. I'll go into another video where I talk about the Foundry as far as a creation standpoint a bit more. I'll focus this time more on the playing a Foundry quest aspect, but you got your little guy here, quest goal there to talk to him, so pop in, it goes into close-up view. Because it's Foundry, there is not any kind of voice acting going on. They may add that later as an option, but they try to make a nice little inclusive package for players to work with, so that way you wouldn't get into situations where it's, you know, overtly complicated. It's relatively simple, but it gives you enough flexibility to make more complex type of dungeons. Anyway, you got your little dialogue here. You can choose your dialogue options. Sometimes it'll branch into other ones that will affect the story. Most of the quests, though, you'll find are pretty linear. Go in there, and then we got our little enemies to pop up here. I've got my companion here. Once he gets in, you actually have to start attacking, but once I start attacking, he'll get into aggro range and start doing damage. Up, and there we go. So that gives you the basic idea of the Foundry. I'll cover this more later. Anyway, we're going to the big one here, into the Dread Vault. Now, you'll note this... Oh, there it goes. That was a lot faster. Sometimes you'll be there for a few minutes while everybody accepts. They might be in the middle of a fight. Anyway, here we are. This is your typical scenario for a dungeon. You wait in for all the party members to load. They'll start moving around. You might see some party chat. Apologies in advance if there's anything vulgar that you don't like. Filters are all off right now. And I will give you fair warning, this may just be a disaster. Everybody might disconnect. We might die a billion times. So feel free to skip ahead in the video if you want, but I'm going to try and cover as much as I can on this, so we'll get an idea. My video may have cut out here. Hang on. Well, I don't see the little indicator anymore, so I'm going to assume I'm still recording, but anyway, so this is the Foundry, no it's not. This is the official game. Anyway, I'll go ahead and show it to you. I'm just double checking my recording settings, because like I said, I don't see the icon anymore, but anyway, I don't think it's that important. So yeah, we're all together. I think everybody's here for the most part. I'm not party lead. You can tell who's party lead by the little crown icon there. Anyway, so we're going off here. There's no real organization in these pickup groups. You can join with friends in a dungeon, or you can play with random people. I usually play in pubs because my friends are on at different times. It's enjoyable either way. It all depends on your group. So far, these guys are pretty good. Like I said in my audio review, my experience so far with the groups, once you get in game, are fine. The zone chat is pretty terrible, but the groups usually are pretty coordinated for the community, which is not always the case. I played a couple side MMOs, and the quality of the pickup groups varied. Now, we don't have a great weapon fighter, but typically you'd get in a situation where you let the tank draw the aggro. As a great weapon fighter, I'm not a dedicated tank. I'm more of an off tank if I build right, which I have. I built mostly survivability on this character with health, lifesteal, and regeneration, so I can tank somewhat well, not as well as a dedicated guardian fighter. But anyway, so I'm free to draw aggro. I have enough survivability to survive it. Now, you probably got a couple questions about the combat. Right now, it's all very action focused. I don't want to say it's like, oh, it's amazing action and you have all these combos you can deal. From a down-to-earth perspective, it doesn't work on a 1, 2, 3, 4 hot bar type system of other MMOs. You can see the letters down there. I've got 1, 2, Q, R, left and right click. So it's WASD oriented. You may or may not have seen other videos regarding Neverwinter. And so you just kind of, like right now when I'm doing this little basic, I'm just holding down left click and it's doing a little auto attack animation. You have 2 of them you can assign independently of left or right click. They're called at-wills in game as far as terminology goes. I just consider them the auto attacks, so you know, it's there. So yeah, to proc it, you can do right click. I also have a secondary. You're not dedicated to having a single target and multi-target at will, but I try and mix it up because of my class. It focuses on both single target as well as multi-target damage. So I've got that for the multi-target and that for the single target. Anyway, I can go in. Now, you also have kind of your main abilities, which are known as encounters in this game. You activate them using Q, E, and R, which are conveniently nearby WASD, which is why they're oriented. Now, you probably have questions about 1 and 2 in the little bar to the left of my targeting reticule. Let me start with the 1 and 2 icons and the D20 icon in the middle. Those are for your dailies. Dailies are not what they sound like. You can use them at any given time, but you have to build up a meter. It's basically, it's probably good to show through example. I'm going to activate one. I hit number 2. And you'll see I did a little animation there. That's my single target focus daily. Like I said, you can mix and match on those. And basically, as you can see here, you can see a tiny yellow sliver down there. As I do damage, my little D20 will build up over time. And different classes have different ways of building that meter. And that builds up to your daily power. Once you get that full, you can activate it. It's kind of like a super move, or I'm sorry for using that term, it's terrible. But anyway, yeah, once you build it up, you can use your daily. It's a very powerful ability that you can only use after building up your meter there, which is called action points in D&D lore and in this game's terminology. But like I said, I'm trying to keep it generic for people who don't plan on playing the game. But anyway, you've got that. Now, to go into perspective, this little meter right here is unique to each class. I'm only going to focus on Great Weapon Fighter. I'll probably show the other classes in later videos. For Great Weapon Fighter, this is known as Determination. And you'll see down here, it has this little tab ability. Once you get it halfway full, you can activate it, at least for Great Weapon Fighter. The benefit it gives you in activating it is increased attack speed, as well as increased damage reduction, which kind of fits the Great Weapon Fighter moniker. They're designed to be kind of more durable DPS. Their main focus is DPS from what the devs have stated. You can make your... I think the Great Weapon Fighter has a lot of flexibility if being a little bit underpowered. So, you know, you can go the way you build the meter is by taking damage as a great weapon fighter. There's a couple things in the skill tree, which I haven't really gone into yet, that will help build up this meter. Now you'll just notice I've gotten my daily meter full, so I can use my daily again. I'll show you the secondary one that's more AoE oriented in just a sec here, but yeah, like I said, basically you've got your daily, but you also have your determination, at least that's the way it's labeled in here. You've got your action meter, or excuse me, action point bar, and your daily, or your determination, and you can slowly build it up. So yeah, like I said, you build it up by taking damage. I'll try and get it procced here in a second. Now, from the skill tree perspective, you can branch into passive bonuses that will grant you the determination based on your damage, but by default it's only based on the damage you take. So right now I'm not really taking that much damage. I think it's mostly due to my lifesteal. I tweaked out my gear recently, so I'm not taking as much damage as I used to, even when they're focusing me. It's tied to my lifesteal. You can see I'm building up a little bit there when they focus me. I'm going to try and get in some of these damage little spheres. You'll notice since I've been playing that these little icons are appearing on the ground to kind of act as early warning that an attack's coming. That plays into their whole action-oriented mechanic, where you have to dodge abilities and things like that. You have certain abilities that will help you dodge, and also you have this. You'll notice this little green meter here. Most classes have a dodge mechanic. Clerics do a little slide. Wizards teleport, and so forth. With my class, I sprint. You hold down shift to activate it, and you'll see my meter went down by doing that. Guardians, on the other hand, Guardian fighters, just block. But because of the way their mechanic is, that's fine. They build it up based on that, and they're focused on tanking anyway. So that's kind of where their mechanic comes in, is that meter. And so basically, yeah, like I said, you have that meter going on. You can activate it. With the other classes, it's kind of like a 2-charge. It won't show up as 2-charge, it shows up one solid bar like that. With the Great Weapon Fighter and the Guardian Fighter, it's more of a meter type thing rather than 2 charges per dodge. This one, as I sprint, it slowly goes down, but I'm not restricted to 2 charges. I can use it as I want. So that goes in the dodge type display, and also the whole damage reticule system that they have going on here, where you basically have to decide what you want to do, and you have little coordination you have to do. It plays off of Terra in that regard to a degree. They have little early warning signs that they're going to attack. Not everything gives that icon, so sometimes you just have to take the damage, and you just have to find ways to mitigate it. You'll see right there as I kind of dodge that little red sphere there. I wouldn't say dodge, I would say sprint it out of the way, because that's one of the major gripes about the Great Weapon Fighter, is they don't have the dodge mechanic that the other classes do, and because they don't block, they want a more dedicated form of dodge, so they don't have to go in and play twice as hard as other classes that can just kind of shift dodge to go into certain positions. I don't mind it, because honestly, if you get used to it, you can use sprint almost as effectively as dodge. It's not always the case, but sometimes it's useful. You can kind of, in the 2-charge system, you're limited to kind of a 2-line vector, so to speak, where basically, I'll give you an example here. I can dodge from here to here in a straight line to here in a straight line. As a Guardian Fighter, I can zigzag all I want, so if I've got a unique damage pattern that's coming at me, I can dodge it in some situations better than other classes. So, it just depends. I've found ways to work around it. Will they change it for the class? Maybe. We'll see. And that's part of the excitement for me, is to see what the devs decide to tweak and change. I work around the changes and adjust my build to meet my needs, and so far it's been working good. There's nothing really broken in the class on the negative side where it's unplayable. As you can see here, I haven't died yet. I haven't really taken significant damage. Granted, my gear is pretty high level right now, but I only got to level 60 a few weeks ago, so I haven't been doing that many epic level dungeon quests yet, so my gear is pretty par for what you're going to get. And leveling up, everywhere from level 10 up to level 50, once I started figuring out what I needed to spec into, in this case regeneration, mostly with a little bit of defense focus, I've been fine. Has my DPS output suffered? Yes. But you know what? What's the point of having high damage in PvE if you can't even survive to do the damage? Rogues have such high damage output to begin with that they can work around this, but because the Great Weapon Fighter's base damage is so low, they have to find ways to mitigate that, and for me it's been in the form of regeneration. Lifesteal is mixed. I think it was more focused as a stat for rogues. I think with their damage output they can benefit, but the Great Weapon Fighters don't really get much. The main reason why I'm getting lifesteal is from a weapon enhancement, which is exclusive to level 60. You don't really get into those until endgame. But before that, I was surviving just fine on regeneration. Like I said in my earlier audio commentary about this with the other guys, the way regeneration works is kind of cool. Basically, as you lose health, the regeneration rate goes up. So once you get to really low health, you become pretty hard to kill, and it makes for a unique experience. I think we're coming up on a boss here, which will be an interesting scenario. We have to kill these guys first before guy comes out, but you'll get to see what an actual little boss dude looks like. Anyway, I'm gonna activate my little my determination thing here. As you can see, my left meter went down. My guy got a little bit bigger. During that time period, I had damage reduction, I think increased movement speed as well, and also just attack speed. So for my build, it meshes well. When you first start playing Great Weapon Fighter, I think you get to a point where you don't use the determination ability that much. Alright, so we got this guy we gotta fight. He's pretty burly, he's immune to CC, and he's not going to be fun to fight, but you know what? We're still going to fight him. You'll notice the cleric keeps putting this ability down from deduction. You can probably discern that this protects us pretty well. I can go outside the circle and survive and take damage pretty well, but it's nice to have as an addition. Like I say, I'll cover the cleric class a bit more because my alternate is a cleric as well. He's kind of keeping there for my friends whenever they play to help keep with their level. But as you can see here, I'm doing alright, and we talked the whole dodge mechanic. You can see the other guys in the party are just kind of doing a quick little dodge thing where I have to sprint out of the way. And honestly, in most cases, that's fine. In certain situations, you get locked down with CC, but in those cases, you can't dodge anyway, so I don't think that's class-specific. And also, it varies on how good of a player you are, so I just gotta stop sucking, and I can dodge just fine, just like that. So it's there. You can avoid attacks. You can't quite dodge them, but you just gotta get some practice in, and you get there. Is it exceedingly difficult? No, but it's also not purely straightforward. It takes a little bit of a learning curve to get used to it. Now that I have the opportunity and the situation, I'll go ahead and activate my technically my first daily, but the second one you've seen on this video. As you can see, I'm doing this little earthquake thing here. It's good for AoE. I've spec'd onto it. It creates a little bit more threat, so as an off tank, I can take a little bit of pressure off the main tank and also in this scenario where I'm the only guy who's really kind of tanking, take a little bit of pressure off the other groups. You can see we just got some rare items there. I am going to need on both of those. So you got it there. Like I said, you can dodge out of the way. You got your dailies. You got your nerd. As you can see, we've taken a lot of damage, so I can do my determination. Also, a unique, for the Great Weapon Fighter, a unique property that I did not mention with determination is kind of a cleanse. It's a CC removal to where you can get out of lockdown situations as a Great Weapon Fighter. I think that's a huge advantage that they have over other classes, but on average they're still fairly underpowered when it comes to other classes. But honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So, you know, you got some good stuff you can do. The fireplaces are here. They're respawn points if you die, as well as activating your religion abilities, and also healing you if you're low on health. Because of my regeneration, it really doesn't matter, but if you're something like a wizard or a rogue, or in some cases a guardian fighter, but most guardian fighters have some form of regeneration. Clerics heal themselves. One important thing to note that I will cover in this video is that clerics do not heal themselves as well as they heal others. I don't know if that's something in regards to clerics only, but or excuse me, that's something for this MMO specifically. I would imagine other MMOs do something similar. In fact, I can almost guarantee they do, if my memory serves me right from my past experiences. But anyway, yeah, like I said, you have the campfires there. And getting back to the determination, going in and activating it as an ability, the CC removal is incredible. I love it. I can't get enough of it, and I use it frequently when I would get into tight situations. The other thing too is also, while you are in that mode, thus the name Unstoppable, you're immune to CC. There are certain things that push you back, like wave abilities and things like that, that you'll still get pushed back, but if the ability from the enemy is supposed to knock you prone, if you are in the unstoppable state, you will not get knocked prone. So it's a good way to get out of sticky situations and also brace yourself for bad situations. Now, I think here is where the sprint kind of shines. Is basically we can get in, get out, and the these little what are they called? I think telekinetic orbs. I have to look up the name. But anyway, those guys, they're passive. Once they blow up, they are gone. It's basically like triggering a mine, more or less. Sprint lets you get in and get out, whereas other classes, you know, you burn your entire meter on that, trying to dodge in and dodge out of their area of damage just to detonate them. But for my class, I can just get in, get out, and I still have, you know, that was only, what, a quarter of my meter versus all of it. So there's cases where sprint is beneficial over dodge. But we'll see what they do with the class. Like I said, from a balance perspective, I think it's going to vary. But as you can see, we can go in here, we're doing our damage. My numbers aren't very reflective of the Great Weapon Fighter's damage. They look very pathetic. If you've mained other classes already in the game and we're curious about Great Weapon Fighter, like I said, my focus is not DPS. As far as spec goes, I play to the strengths of the Great Weapon Fighter on the survivability angle. I want to be able to take hits and give them to. I've got some damage focus, so my DPS isn't as terrible as it could be, but it's not perfect. I'm not a glass cannon, but for good reason. Like I said, I enjoy some of the benefits, the Great Weapon Fighter gets in terms of survivability over the other classes, and I make sure I maximize that as much as I can without completely gimping myself, making myself a brick wall that has no guns. I'm about balanced. I think I have more defense focused than offense, but I expect into crits quite a bit because and that's the other side too, is damage. How should I put it? Debuffing. The Great Weapon Fighter gets some unique debuffs, especially in an AoE scenario. The Rogue gets them as well, and I think the Great Wizard has a few, but the Control Wizard is more focused on hard CC rather than debuffs, and I think the Rogue gets a few debuff abilities as well, but I'm not sure if they're on the same level as Great Weapon Fighter. Great Weapon Fighter has quite a few areas where he can debuff enemies, reduce their stats, reduce their damage, reduce their armor, and so I play kind of a unique position of an off-tank debuffer, and I like it. And it helps support my team, but for solo runs, it also helps me boost my DPS somewhat, or survivability. Take your pick. So yeah, and then it's kind of cool because you get into those situations where you have a lot of enemies and you're getting surrounded. You just pop your little ability there and just wail on the enemies. Is your damage as high? No, but you know what? You still have fun with it. I love doing that. But anyway, yeah, you can just go through. As you probably noticed, some of my encounters or normal abilities, if you aren't familiar, have certain properties. That one I just did with the knockdown will knock an enemy prone. There's a couple other abilities that will stun enemies, but I've noticed that as far as this game goes, knockdowns are generally more effective than stuns for your average enemy. Some enemies it doesn't really matter, but you know, if you just knock them down, they can't really do anything. If you stun them, they just kind of they might have like an AoE ability that they're doing, and a prone will cancel it, whereas a stun will not. So I balanced a few. I prefer the knockdown. It seems to last longer too, as they try and get up. But yeah, I just go through here, trigger a couple of the stones there. Now we're getting interesting here because we're getting more enemies. But anyway, yeah, so I got a nice little toolkit here of abilities I can choose from. It isn't the flood of abilities like other games. Not to say you don't have options. One of the things you'll notice is, well, you won't notice because I don't have it up. I can pop it real quick here though. Let's go to C, do a little need greed action there. Under powers, anything that's red is a normal ability that fits in these slots. You'll notice I've got a few to choose from. There's a few abilities I have, definitely more than 3 like I have right now. So you have ones to choose from. You can't switch them in combat, but out of combat you can freely move them around. So you can, even in the same dungeon instance, if you really want to, switch between abilities that are in your bar. I generally stick with my group. I'm not really a guy who likes to switch hotbars. If you're more of a hotbar type person that likes to switch specs, I wouldn't say specs, but you know, your focus or your playstyle mid-dungeon, then you can go in there and do that. So if you were looking for that and weren't sure if you're going to get it, it's definitely there. I found my nice little sweet spot in terms of my rotation of abilities. I've got my left ability, which is just raw damage. It helps build my action point meter, and it does a significant amount of damage considering. I have my middle ability there that gives me health on a damage strike, so it kind of plays into my whole lifesteal spec. It was pretty much my bread and butter for getting health back, aside from regeneration, until I got my little weapon enhancement at level 60. And then the right-hand one is the one I use to knock prone, which is pretty useful against your sturdier thug mobs versus bosses. Bosses are immune to CC for the most part, so it just depends. You know, if I fight a tough guy or there's one specific enemy on a squishier ally that I need to knock down, I've got it. For stun in, like, let's say an emergency situation where I've got to lock somebody down for an extended period while they get away, that's what my daily's for. My number 2 there, where you see me do my little blade dance. And here we get interesting. We got another boss fight. This guy is also immune to CC. Like I said, most of these guys are immune, but every now and then you'll get one that has that little cutscene, but they'll be vulnerable to it. If you find out they're vulnerable to CC, definitely knock them around. As you can see, we got people trying to activate the little, what do you call them, psi crystals for, what is it, psionics. Not bad. I've been a little bit rusty on my D&D terms. Anyway, in this situation, I'm still going to activate my AoE to generate threat, and also just do damage to enemies. It also slows them as well, so if my allies need to get away, they have a better chance of it. As you're fighting bosses, it's standard MMO fare in most of these dungeon instances. They have other smaller minions known as ads in MMO terminology. In this game, it's generally a good idea, as it is in other MMOs, to focus them before you focus the main boss, because they don't continually respawn for the most part. Some of the higher level dungeons, they just keep coming, and you have to balance between damaging the main boss and balancing the ads. But in this one, specifically this instance, the ads will stop. It doesn't seem like it, they just seem to keep coming, but you can see our rogue's been doing a lot of damage to the main boss, so he's triggering a lot of respawns of ad mobs. So we just got to keep at it. I'm focusing mainly on ads because, you know, like I said, my damage output isn't spectacular, so I tend to benefit from attacking the side monsters mostly to keep my allies alive, though honestly I don't think that's a big deal. We got 2 clerics in the party. That's what that gold icon left of their name is on the left-hand side, where their the party listing is. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have to worry about it, but it's good practice. You know, you get in there, you do your thing. I will activate my daily real quick here. Although, like I said, this guy's immune to CC, so he didn't get locked down. He popped a little, I wouldn't call it stun, but yeah, actually it would be. That is a stun right there. It might be an interrupt. Either way, they can interrupt your ultimates, so you gotta be strategic with how you drop them. So yeah, like I said, you can see from my allies health bars, they're doing good. It's mostly due to this buff from the clerics. Like I said, I'll go into clerics on another video, but yeah, we can get in there and focus on the ads. Once you clear out the wave of ads, you can just get in there and do your damage. And we just killed the main guy, so we're gonna do what I need. And I got a little bit of an interrupt slash stun there put on me, so I activated my little unstoppable buff and got out of the CC. So you can see there's situations where you're going to use that as a great weapon fighter. And now, in terms, like I talked about customization a little bit, you can customize your daily abilities, but you can't really customize the unstoppable bar from the core mechanic. You can add properties to it. You can get certain additional buffs. Like right now I have a passive thing in my skill tree that while my unstoppable thing is going, as I do damage, I get more action points out of it. So there's that. I really do that to keep my dailies up, not from a damage perspective, but from a mitigation standpoint. So like I said, this little earthquake generates threat. So, like I said, I try and take the pressure off of my party members. Roll-wise, for this particular bunch, I don't think I'm that significant. A couple of cases, I might be taking some of the heat off of them, but honestly, for the most part, they'd probably be fine on their own without me. However, you get mixed results. It's always a gamble when you go into a pickup group, so I try and prepare for the worst. And I've done this build with weaker parties before, and it's worked out really well. Usually we still have a main tank, but you know, the tank's focusing on getting the main boss locked down to where he's, you know, not going and killing everybody in the party while the party focuses on the additional monsters. And so that's where I can come in as kind of an off tank to take off the pressure. And I enjoy doing that for this class specifically. So, like I said, I've got that there for those situations. I just go in, I do my little thing. For these cases, I just add in a little bit of extra DPS with what I've got. Gotta get out of the way there. See, and that's what most players complain about. I had that little cone pop, I tried to dodge it. I didn't have a quick enough reaction time to get out of the way. If I had a dodge ability, I probably could have gotten out of the way, but you know what? As I explained earlier, there's some cases where sprinting is more advantageous than the little blinks and dodges. So, would I trade it for a dodge? I don't know. I can't solidly say one way or another. So, for now, I'm just running with sprint, and I enjoy it. I just, you know, honestly, it comes down to one key equation. Stop being a scrub. I gotta have faster reaction times. So it adds a little bit of a nice little challenge. You're more underpowered. You have to tweak your play style a little bit if you've played other classes in this game to really stay in there. But I've seen enough people playing Great Weapon Fighter that I don't think it's a dead class. I think the positives greatly outweigh the negatives, and it's a fun class to play. As you can see, you've got options. You can, if you want to focus DPS, go for it. You know, as long as you got a cleric backing you to heal you, you know, if that's your thing, you can go for it. I'd throw in some flair there with like debuffs or something. Give yourself a value add to the party. You know, rogues, its main focus is DPS, but most of them, for their abilities, have a passive bonus that reduces the enemy's stats, which means the DPS goes up for the rest of the party. So you can add the unique flavor. One thing that you'll get, you know, I think our guy brought this up in the text video, or excuse me, the audio discussion we had, that your atypical party is going to be 2 rogues, a wizard or 2, and a cleric or 2. You know, the rogues have their debuffs, but they don't stack with each other, so, you know, that's one thing you can bring to the party is additional debuffs. So if you're in a friend situation where you're working with people you know, and you want to maximize that, I wouldn't say DPS output, but just raw fun play, having a Great Weapon Fighter in the group isn't a bad thing. You have additional debuffs and CC you bring to the equation that do stack with the other classes, so there's that benefit as well. Now, you get some inconsistencies in this game. One of those things is the bosses. You gotta remember this guy earlier, although I shouldn't say that. He's got a different costume. Some enemies, though, they're the same as a main boss you fought earlier that had a little cinematic. You'll notice this guy did not. And tied to that, this guy's vulnerable to CC as well, which is different from the guy that we fought earlier. So if I want to knock him down, I can knock him down. So there's some inconsistency in that regard, but I think it's minor. You just experimentation. Most of your CC abilities, you're not gonna hold on. Like I said, you don't have as much variety in this game, and the way Neverwinter makes up for it is by rolling duties into one ability rather than having 3 different ones doing 3 different things. You'll have a debuff, a CC move, and damage all in one ability. And that's where that comes into play, is that you'll inadvertently experiment, so you don't have to sit there throwing non-damaging abilities at him, trying to figure out if he's immune to CC or not. you just use your normal rotation, and if the CC works, great. If not, well, compensate. So it's there. Like I said, you can see me in here. I'm knocking people down. I'm doing my little damage. Important to note there, my little AoE ability. You notice some of the enemies have been changing textures, so to speak. I'll give you a prime example here. You'll notice they're all kind of getting that scaly look. That comes in from my little ability there, the little slash. It reduces their defense by a certain percent. So, as an ability, it's very useful. It can go and attract their attention, draw threat, but at the same time, it reduces their defense. So even if you don't draw their threat, you're at least making them more vulnerable. And there's a lot of abilities in the Great Weapon Fighters toolkit that tie to that. So you'll get some good stuff out of it. Like I said, I enjoy playing it. So far, we're doing pretty good as a group here, as you can see. Not taking much damage. I think a good chunk of that is, again, the cleric, but I don't think I should discount my natural survivability that I've spec'd on this character. And so, for those people out there who are having a hard time with this Great Weapon Fighter and they've been kind of going the glass cannon route, I'd highly recommend giving the regeneration defense build a try. You don't necessarily focus on the entire thing, but it's definitely a portion of it. Now, this video has been going on for quite a while, so if you've been skipping around to catch you up to speed, we are about to finish up here. We're going to attempt, I believe here, I could be wrong, I haven't done this dungeon enough times to really have the rotation down, but I believe we're about to fight the final boss. I'm actually going to switch companions to my more powerful one here. Luckily, this guy is ready to go to training. I'll cover companions in another video, but this is my main companion here, Mr. Vulgarities aside, motherfucking honey badger, Jimmy Argotti brought up in the video. So, yeah, I think this is the final boss here that we're about to fight. I'm going to be frank, I have not beaten him yet. I'm hoping to this time. If not, it makes for an amusing video as you see us try and fail here. To give a little backstory while we're waiting on our cleric here to figure out what they want to do, we are in a place doing stuff. I don't know the backstory of this location. I should probably pay attention more to the lore. I do know from a D&D standpoint, though, that we are fighting mind flayers and a couple aberrations that tie into the mind flayer mythos. We're about to fight what's known as an elder brain, which is just like basically a giant brain. It's more complicated than that. It has, if you're not familiar with D&D terminology, the rough equivalent is psychic abilities, so to speak. I'm sure a majority of you are familiar with some of the mechanics behind Pokemon. Psionics is not equivalent to that, but it's fairly close from a fundamental standpoint. You can do a lot more with psionics than you can with the abilities in Pokemon, at least at this generation, as far as I'm aware. But anyway, we're about to get going here, but the brain can basically use psychokinesis and a bunch of other telekinetic abilities, in addition to what you get with it. General strategy on this guy, if you've been reading the text, great. If not, you just want to listen. We have to clear... This guy has about 6 tentacles around him that we have to get rid of. See, this is going to suck. I'll explain this in just a sec. You'll see the red stuff gathering. That means basically we're about to take damage. You notice I'm still going here. I'll explain why in a sec. So pretty much what it comes down to is you have the big brain in the middle there, and he's got about 6, I think, tentacles around him. You obviously want to go attack the brain. He's the main focal point on killing him, but you can't really get at him until you stop these tentacles. They have reach. They have these little slam abilities that they do, and you basically have to go and attack the tentacle before you wind up attacking the main brain. Although we may have already done that. I don't think we did. But we're doing that right now. Like I said, basically... Oh, yeah, see, I'm taking some nasty damage there. It just kind of ties to... I'll get some of it back doing some auto attacks here. But anyway, I'm gonna get back. Like I said, oh Jesus, he's on fire today. Usually they don't use that 4-way attack that often. Anyway, the general strategy is to clear out the tentacle. God damn, he does not want to stop. I think it's because our allies are kind of going for a whole go for the brain strategy, which, like I said, is not really what you go for. Anyway, that's fine. Like I said, my survivability is decent enough that I can handle this guy fairly well on my own. But getting back on track here, the main strategy is to get rid of one of these tentacles. Once you kill it, you have free at least one avenue to hit the brain. There's about 6 angles you can hit him at, where one tentacle per zone has reach, and you take out the tentacle, and he won't. Obviously, there won't be a tentacle there to attack you, so you can get in there and do your little damage to the brain. There are additional monsters that you have to try and kill to keep them off your back and off your squishies. But yeah, like I said, the big thing see, there we go. Now we got clear access to the brain. That is what's supposed to be the main strategy. Is gotta get back, and that's where, again, doing it wrong. You gotta be able to keep up if you're gonna do that. Yeah, that's fine. You can just keep going here. But as you can see, there's no tentacle there, so normally he would have reach to slam down on me, but right now he doesn't because obviously we killed it. It does respawn after a period of time, so it's a rotation. Throughout the entire combat, you got to take out the ads. You also have to go and kill the tentacles as they respawn. I'll explain the little red phantom thing in just a sec here, but yeah, anyway, you kill the tentacle, it gives you one angle to attack the brain without getting hit by a tentacle. And so you focus that tentacle. Once that tentacle's gone, you have clear access to the brain, you go for the brain. The tentacle respawns, you go kill the tentacle, rinse, repeat. That's the basic gist while you're focusing ads. Now, as you get him lower, you'll notice his health bar is full, but the name is different. Oh, I should probably go near my allies, huh? I'm not, again, example of doing it wrong. I'm not saying I'm the best player at this game, but anyway. What'll happen, once you get the main brain's health low enough, he'll spawn, I guess you'd call it visions of some earlier bosses and other dungeons you fought before. Basically spawn from your memory, and at least lore-wise, I think that's what they're going for. So you have to kill this projection, this image, what have you. Once you kill it, you go back to killing the brain. And I think there's a few iterations. I think there's like maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3. I've fought up to 2 so far. So you go for him. The tentacles are back up, but what we've done here, and this is another part of the strategy, for these projections, because the tentacles respawn, you gotta draw the projection away from the brain and away from the tentacles so that the tentacles won't attack you. Then once you kill the projection, you can go kill one of the tentacles again and get back to the normal rotation of the default strategy. One advantage, though, of this projection over the real boss is he's immune to CC, so it makes him a little bit easier to take out. Now we're back to the old strategy because we have to attack the brain again, but technically supposed to do for doing it right and not doing it wrong is attack the tentacle here. Yeah, I know. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, that's pretty much the rotation, is kill the tentacle, attack the brain, astral projection appears. I am so bad at my D&D terms. The image, the phantasm, what have you, appears, and you go in and attack. Oh god, yeah, see, I gotta go and get healed by my cleric again. Can get some life steal off of these ads here. Yeah, this tentacle is gonna attack us, and you'll see why you have to take care of the tentacle beforehand. It'll keep slamming down. Our guys are just kind of ignoring it because we got 2 clerics, and they're just figuring, oh well, you know, we can take it out. Maybe they're right, maybe I'm wrong, but I generally like to stick to tried and true strategies, so that's what I'm trying to do. Anyway, yeah, like I said, right now I'm just focusing on the ads a little bit. I was trying to get a little health back. Now that I have it, I'm going to go back to attacking this tentacle again here. It's going, it's got aggro on other things right now. The only problem with this whole mess is when it does that whole AoE kind of paralysis. That's what it is. It's basically an AoE paralysis. Using my unstoppable, I can get out of it. The stun's brief, but the whole point of it is to be long enough to kind of get you in bash time for the tentacle to hit you. And also it makes it harder to see the attack pattern of the tentacle that it's about to take. But yeah, like I said, when I'm not failing around, I generally go for the tried and true strategies. I'm just going to go ahead and take it. I should have enough life steal to get back. No, maybe not. This guy's got some good defense. But anyway, yeah, like I said, main party's over there. I'm whittling down this tentacle. I'm trying to follow the atypical strategy. Luckily, with my survivability, I can take a few hits before I have to go back to and heal. So you just keep going at it. Unstoppable is advantageous here because you just focus on him. I'm gonna get out of the way a little bit here, let my regeneration take effect. Another thing to note about the whole unstoppable buff from the determination meter is that the damage reduction you get that I mentioned increases based on how full the meter is. So it's like, I think it's 25 to 50% is the range. And so if you activate your bar at half, it will give you 25%, and if you activate it at full, it gives you 50%. And again, that's kind of base stats. Let me just do some raw damage on them. I want to kill this guy sometime today. See, and that's an example of doing it right. There, you do a little sprint. Anyway, like I said, up there we go. He is down, and now we can attack the brain. I got unbridled access to him, and I should probably get back. He'll do that little kind of splash. He's in a vat of liquid. What that liquid is named, I cannot tell you. But what I can tell you is with this upcoming damage, well, maybe not, but with some of this damage that I'm going to be taking here, yep, I have enough meter now that I can get in here and start doing my unstoppable, which means I can ignore ads and go right for the throat. Now keep in mind, in an atypical scenario, I think with one cleric, we'd probably have a situation where more ads would be alive, and we'd have to go in and try and defend the cleric more. So this strategy may not be atypical with another group you have, but yeah, like I said, what worked for you. And this is the guy that wiped me last time. Let's hope it doesn't happen the same way. He, unfortunately, is immune to CC. But fortunately, he's not immune to damage. So as long as we got 2 clerics here, we've got a control wizard and a rogue, I think we're going to be fine. You'll notice my companions herping and derping there. Like I said, I'm going to probably cover companions more in depth in another video, but he's doing alright there. That's one of the advantages. You basically have a 10-person group. Some of these lighter buddies you see are kind of companions and not actually full characters. But anyway, yeah, so again, it's another vision. You just gotta dodge his little CC moves there. We technically need to draw him back. That's all I group this. Party, corner. Somebody beat me to it, but anyway. Yeah, so now that we've drawn him to the corner, we're a little bit more restricted on our dodge space, but we basically have to kind of draw him over to this side to keep out of the tentacle range. That's what killed our party last time, is we couldn't draw him far enough from the brain to kill him. He does seem to have a teleport ability. Like I said, you fight this guy in another dungeon as the real version. This guy, I don't know, he's probably stronger in terms of health, and he's also immune to CC, but either way, that's your general strategy, is to draw each of the visions to the edge away from the tentacles. If you get too close to the tentacles, it'll knock you prone, which against this guy, you don't want that to happen. Almost enough on my daily. When I do, because of the number of ads we're fighting right now, I'm going to activate my AoE. It'll taunt them to a degree. It's not like a hard taunt, it's just threat generation. It's damage with more threat than a normal attack. So, like I said, I'm trying to keep them off my party. I don't think it's as significant with this group because, like I said, we have 2 clerics and a good balance of DPS roles that I think I wouldn't say it's a cakewalk dungeon, but it's a lot easier than it normally is. My last group, we had about, I think, 2 rogues, a control wizard, me, and 1 cleric, and it was significantly harder. Having that extra healing is very useful. And one of the things I mentioned in the audio video, and like I said, I'll go into clerics more in another video, but anyway, for this one, what I will mention is clerics do a fair amount of damage, and even if they're mostly heals focused, their base damage is pretty good. So even groups like this are not at a disadvantage. I wouldn't say this is like, oh, this is the definitive group you want, because honestly, I don't think there is a definitive group. It all depends on the playstyle. You know, certain groups mesh better than others, depending on how the person plays that character. Just because they play a cleric doesn't mean they're going to be a good healer. There's a certain mentality behind that, especially in this game. This one, if you haven't really put 2 and 2 together, and again, I'll cover the major quirks with this when I do my cleric review video. One of the major things you're going to notice is that you have this little mouse look targeting. Think about that from a healing perspective. In most MMOs where you play a healer, you have a free mouse cursor and you just kind of right click drag to move the camera. In this one, I'm not click dragging anything, I'm just rotating my mouse to move the view. From an action standpoint, this is useful. From a healer's standpoint, this makes it a pain, because you can't click their name in the top left there. If you hit Alt, it will gray out everything. It's not meant to be used that way. Some of the abilities that they have kind of complement that to make it easier, but it's just something to keep in mind if you're considering healing. Like I said, I'll cover that more in a future video, but no biggies. We're doing all right here. As you can see, our healers are managing to keep us healed, so obviously this game has some function. And sometimes you'll forget you have your daily available to you. Or, excuse me, that you're unstoppable, so you'll try and dodge something instinctively. You should dodge damage, I think, when you can, but it's not a critical requirement. It's not, oh god, you're dead. Well, depending. If you're a control wizard, and in some cases a squishy rogue, you probably want to try and dodge when you can, but since this is focusing in on the unstoppable thing, since you're going to be immune to CC and you have some survivability, you don't have to dodge everything, especially where it's detrimental. Like if you're really trying to hammer in that last amount of damage on that boss, and he's just throwing CC left and right, pop your, wait till you get full meter, pop your unstoppable, and just wail on him. And well, this angle's pretty good. Yep, see, it can still reach us. We're so close to killing the boss, though, I'm not even going to bother at this point. We're just going to have to dodge the tentacle. I'm just going to activate Unstoppable when I can. We got 2 clerics here. We got this little shield buff. We're doing good. So, like I said, I'm not concerned about the tentacle. It's going to knock us down every now and then, so we just kind of have to spread out so it can't chain us. Just kind of focusing the ads here. Oh, our party members have died. Ish. Not really, but they have fallen. Didn't see that. See, that is why you focus the, who's down now? Ooh, man. This isn't good. I don't know what hit them, but hoping they can heal up here pretty soon. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to draw them away from my allies here, but anyway, yeah, we got most of the ads here dead. Most of these extras spawn. Oh, god damn, man. This isn't good. Whoa, not cool. Not cool, not gonna wipe. We need to focus the, our party's not doing as good. Oh, who died? We are down a cleric. Our dude here is trying to wipe out this boss, and I think I'm going to follow suit with that. We're just going to wail on this thing until it's gone. Because it's so close to dying. I wouldn't say there's no point to defending, but you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Like I said, if we can kill him, we can focus the rest of this pretty easily. I can't guarantee that the tentacles will disappear, but nice. And there we go. Alright, the tentacles are gone. It looks like the ads are gone too. Interesting. Usually the ads... Nope, there's a few. Kind of. What's going on here? Did I miss something? No? Alright, anyway. Need... Look at that. And, okay, so this is standard fare for a normal dungeon. You beat the boss, he drops a couple rares, you pick them up, you roll for them in a loot system, and then you go and collect your final reward. This is different from other ones. I don't think I had the quest active, which is why I did not get a quest reward. But you know what? I'm good. We completed it. I think I got credit for my... Yeah, see, I got my daily dungeon. That's important. This is a harder one to run, and you get mixed chances of actually completing it. So, I'm going to go back out. For standard fare in this game, once you complete a dungeon in a pickup group, you leave the group. You might add a few friends if you had a good group that was... I generally don't add them unless they're social. I like to add people that are more talkative. But anyway, yeah, so getting back to focus here, we went ahead and got our... Normally you'd get your reward, but it depends on the conditions. That might have been a bug, that might have been just a quest situation, but either way, I'm not that concerned about it. And to tie on to that, so yeah, you go in, you do your thing. We need to do this one. Now I'm right next to it, but just to make it active. You go in, you do your daily quests, and then you go up to this guy, talk to him. Complete, and I get paltry 3,000, but you know what? No big deal. Yep, and I gotta do it again. So yeah, for that dungeon, that's more difficult ones, especially considering you're level 60. I enjoy it. It just depends on the group, but you'll make a few friends on here. I think I've made a couple anonymous friends. Most people though are not very talkative, and like I said, I'm not a big one on the non-talkative ones, because usually that's a sign that they have a chance of dropping. Well, I shouldn't say that. That has a chance where the person might drop randomly, as from what I've seen. The chances of that happening are low, but I see that people who are talkative and actually communicate more have very significantly low chances of dropping the group versus people who aren't. In general, the chance of somebody dropping your party in this game, from my experience, has been low, but it happens. So you got to be wary of it, and especially with pickup groups. So kind of wrapping up here. From an overall standpoint, if you're looking to get in this game, if you've got a few friends that were looking for something and aren't too hard, like maybe they like D&D, but they're not hardcore D&D where everything has to follow mortar and brick type rigidness, and they're open to interpretation, I think this is a good game to go through. It's got a lot to offer. Give it a shot. It's free to play. That's one of the best parts. So you can try it before you buy it. So, like I said, give it a shot. At most for the cash shop, I'd spend $5-10 if you're testing it. You can go further if you want. That's your prerogative, but that's my recommendation at most for testing it. If you decide to commit to the game, then, do your thing. I've dropped a bit on this game already. I enjoy it, and that's the whole point. I've played other free-to-plays where I didn't really like it. I didn't really drop that much on it. I might drop like 5 or 10 or so, depending on the way the cash shop is geared, to get kind of a full experience of the game. Honestly, you don't really need to spend a dime on the cash shop to get the full deal. Cash shop in this one is really the only design is to speed certain things up, and again, you do pay to speed it up. It's not, oh, I pop $1 and bam, I'm, level 60 with epic tier gear. So I think that's a good defense for the pay-to-win model. So anyway, wrapping this up, Survient signing out here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to more stuff from us, and we will see you soon at sude.su. I'm hoping Argotti has something for you soon here. Take it easy. I am